should be. I'm going to confirm it to you in a second.
Radha Krishna Bho Gopnath Sam Kanda Radha Kanda Giri Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Guru Dwarka Dham Ki Jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the Excellency. All glories to the Excellency. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Gurudev. All glories to His Grace, Sri KAUNTEya Prabhu. And all glories to the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Devotees, we thank you all for being here. We are super fortunate. We have His Grace KAUNTEya Prabhu who will be speaking SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM Katha with us today. Of course, Prabhuji is not a new individual to almost all of us here, but at the same time, we would like to do a little bit of introduction, but we do that at the end of the class, by which time we believe we would have had many more devotees assembled. So, Prabhuji, we thank you so much for accepting our invitation and being here with us today. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
And I thank you so much for inviting me,
Hare
Sahadev.
Hare
Always
Krishna.
a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So, without further ado, we may put the verse on the screen and then you take it over from here. You speak as long as you possibly can go, and then the devotees may want to have their doubts cleared. And so there may be some questions or sharing of realizations. So thank you so much. We're going to put the verse on the screen. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so this is the third canto, chapter 5, text 6. This verse is spoken by Vidura. As many of you are following regularly these classes, you'll know that Vidura has just met Maitreya Rishi and is framing the dialogue through a number of questions. And of course, because he's very learned, it's not just asking, what's the meaning of the tilak or what's the meaning of the sikha. He's also framing his questions in a very, very highly sophisticated theological language. In other words, he knew the philosophy, of course. He's a very dear associate of Krishna himself and of the Pandavas. And he's an empowerman. He was the prime minister of the Kuru dynasty, the emperors. So he was especially qualified in many ways. So he had a few chapters of dialogue with Uddhava, and Uddhava directed him, look, Maitreya, the great sage, is nearby, please go and connect with him. He felt that also due to the age and due to the fact that Uddhava was not really in the mood of long discussions, he was going to Badrinath to meet Naranarayan Rishi. He was kind of retiring in that sense. He also felt Vidura is very senior, so let a very senior sage like Maitreya speak to him instead of me. So Vidura meets Maitreya and asks some, I would say, basic question, meaning it starts from the creation of the world, which is fundamental idea, because we are in this world, and elevated people ask, okay, where this world comes from, and what is its purpose? It's purposeful or purposeless? Of course, Vidura, as I said, already knew the philosophy, the theology, so already knows that Narayana Vishnu is the source, but he wants to go deeper. He wants to churn more the matter. So in this verse, he speaks about a particular phase of creation. So we'll go through the Sanskrit quickly, I guess, and then we'll see the translation, the purport, and we'll make some comments. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I guess I just read the Sanskrit myself.
Yes,
Yatha
yes.
Yatha punha svekha idam nivesha shete guhayam sanivritta vritti yugeshwaradhishwara eka etad anupravishtu bahuduha yathasit. Let's see the words. It's a very esoteric word sometimes. Yatha, as much as. Punaha, again. Sve, in his. Ke, form of space, the Virat Rupa. Idham, this. Nivesha, entering into. Shete, lies down. Guhayam, within the universe. Saha, he, the personality of God. Nivritta, without endeavor. Vritti, means of livelihood. Yoga Ishvara, the master of all mystic powers. Adhishvara, proprietor of everything. Ekaha, one without a second. Etat, this. Anupravishtaha, entering afterwards. Bahuda, by innumerable. Yata, as much as. Asit, exists. Translation. He, God, he lies down on his own heart, spread in the form of the sky, and thus placing the whole creation in that space, he expands himself into many living entities, which are manifested as different species of life. He does not have to endeavor for his maintenance, because he is the master of all mystic powers and the proprietor of everything. Thus is distinct from the living entities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The questions regarding creation, maintenance, and destruction, which are mentioned in many parts of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, are in relation to different millenniums, kalpas, and therefore they are differently described by different authorities when questioned by different students. There's no difference regarding the creative principles and the Lord's control over them. Yet, there are many differences in the minute details because of different kalpas. The gigantic sky is the material body of the Lord, called the Virat Rupa. When all material creations are resting on all material creations are resting on the sky or the heart of the Lord. Therefore, beginning from the sky, the first material manifestation to the gross vision, down to the earth, everything is called Brahman. Sarvam kalo vidha Brahma. There is nothing but the Lord, and He is one without a second. The living entities are the superior energies, whereas matter is the inferior energy. And the combination of these energies brings about the manifestation of this material world, which is in the heart of the Lord. Oh my goodness. Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhyavaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we are discussing a form of Krishna. We're discussing the Purusha avatars, meaning the forms of Krishna that take care of the creation, maintenance, and also destruction of this material cosmos. So we are talking about Karanodakashaya Vishnu. That means the Vishnu that stays in the ocean of causes, like the primordial ocean. Karano Udakashai. Shahi means to lay down. Like we have in the temple, Shayana Artik is the last Artik before the Lord goes and lies down to sleep. So Shahi means laying. Not only to sleep, but just laying horizontally. Udaka means water, and in this case means the ocean, a lot of water. And Karana means the causes. So Karana Udaka Ashai, the one, the Vishnu, that lays down on the ocean of Karana. Karana means causes, causal ocean. Not casual ocean, like sometimes the devotees make a mistake. It's not the casual ocean, it's causal ocean, the ocean of causes. Then there is this other Vishnu, Garbhudakashai Vishnu. Same words, Shahi, he lies down on the Udaka, on the ocean, but this is the Garbhodaka ocean. It's an ocean internally to every universe. The Karana ocean, Mahavishnu lies there, and from his pores, from his body, all the universes expand. Then he enters in each universe as Garbhodakashai Vishnu. So he fills off a universe, which are like balls, like spherical. They're called Brahmandas, or the eggs of Brahma, not because Brahma lays eggs, but because it has got these spherical forms. So he lies down there also. And then he expands himself as Paramatma, Kshira Udakashaya Vishnu. Kshira means milk. So the Paramatma, the headquarters of the Paramatma are in a spiritual planet within the universe. And it's the milk ocean. It's surrounded by the milk ocean. It's called Sweta Advipa. Dvipa means island, and Sweta means white. So it's a white island within this mystical milk ocean. We see at the beginning of Krishna book, when there was trouble on the earth, Bhumi Devi approaches Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma goes to the shore of the milk ocean. He couldn't even just go to Svetadvipa. He sits on the shore of this ocean, and in meditation, he asks a question to the Lord, and the Lord in meditation gives an answer. In that case, the answer was that, yes, I know that there is trouble. I will appear in the Yadu dynasty, and so on, like that. So we are in the school that teaches devotion to Krishna. And so we may not focus as Narayana or Vishnu. Narayana is another name of Vishnu. But we need to understand that Vishnu is also Krishna. So we may not take Vishnu as the original form of God or as our Ishta Devata, as the Lord that we worship, the Lord with whom we want to develop a close connection, the Lord we want to reach as destination may not be that, but still we need to understand he is also Krishna. In other words, a devotee of Krishna will meditate on Vishnu as an expansion of Krishna. And so we'll also appreciate there's no competition, there's no opposition, and there is no contradiction. So if we want to focus mainly, this is our school, this is our philosophical school, Gaudiya Vaishnava, we focus on Vrindavan, on Goloka Vrindavan, Navadvip, Puri is our main focus. So we focus on Krishna, we focus on Lord Chaitanya, we focus on Jagannath, and at the same time, we never disrespect other forms of the Lord. If we are devotees of Krishna, then we see Vishnu, Krishna is expanding in this form to create the universe. It's also an eternal form, so we pay full respect. But we just see him as Krishna. Just like the great devotee of Rama will see all the manifestation as a manifestation of Rama, because he sees that's his Lord, and so we'll think, this is Rama appearing as Purushavata, and so on. So according to the connection, and also according to the philosophy, we understand Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the origin of all the other forms. Therefore is prominent, therefore is primordial. Govinda Adi Purusha. But at the same time, it is said that it's like a candle. There are many candles. There is an original candle, but all the other candles are also as powerful as the original candle. Therefore, the Brahma Samhita says, Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadi, Ananta Rupam. Advaita, there's no difference. There are no different substance, different tattva, different categories. There's no difference. It's one. Krishna is one. But is multi-forms. So, Advaitam, Achyutam, they're all infallible. It's not that one is beyond matter, one is below matter. No, they're all infallible, untouched by Maya. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadhi, they're all beginningless. They're all eternal. Even the soul, even us, we are eternal, Sanatana. Ananta Rupam. But there are also Ananta. Ananta means there is no end. Anta means end. Ananta means there is no end. So there are limitless forms of Krishna. And a devotee of Krishna would see these forms as Krishna. It's different and non-different. Of course, it's different than Krishna and Vrindavan. The mood is different. but it's a form of Krishna. So we don't skip these cantos because they may not talk so much about Vrindavan, they may not talk about about the gopis. No, we meditate on these verses because this is also an activity of Krishna. This is also a lila of Krishna. So if we want to come to understand how big is Krishna, who is Krishna, we need to understand very much the creation of this world. I'm not saying in a technical way, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, sometimes technical details are a little different because different speakers emphasize one aspect, one passage or another. And so we have Maitreya Muni speaking, we have later Kapila Deva speaking, we had Sutta Goswami speaking about the creation. So it's just when you tell a story, it's how many details you want to give. Plus, Srila Prabhupada says sometimes there is some difference because in different creations there are different passages, different avatar, and so on. But it's like any narration. If you want to tell the story of Ghana or Nigeria, you can give. So if you want to tell the story, the history of Ghana or Nigeria, you can choose to say in few words, okay, a few thousand years ago, this what happened, and there were these kings, and then there was the British, and then we got independence in this year, and now the president is this. Like, this is a short history. But you can also give all the names of all the kings and all this other kingdoms, and you can go into different levels of details. Similarly, the Bhagavatam describes creation, and it describes creation at different levels of details. And sometimes one emphasis is given, sometimes another emphasis is given. So you could say it's cumulative. Like, I give an example. In the Virat Rupa, it is said that the sun is the eye of the Lord. As an example, as a symbol. At the same time, in the ninth canto, therefore quite late, in the ninth canto is described that the light of the sun comes from Sudarshan chakra, the personal weapons of the Lord that represents the vision of the Lord, Sudarshan, the auspicious vision. So by studying the Bhagavatam, our idea of creation, our meditation on creation becomes more and more rich by the different features that each speaker adds. Sutta Goswami, Shukadeva Goswami, Maitreya, Kapila Deva, and so on, like that. So we should not neglect this, thinking, oh, I want to go with Krishna and the gopis because that's the real thing. Everything is real. Everything is important for our bhakti, for our devotional service. One thing I also wanted to impress is that sometimes we need to understand these Vishnu forms according to the Shastra, because sometimes we only understand them or have an impression according to the pictures, to the illustrations, to the paintings. But sometimes the paintings are limited. So I wanted to bring this point to your attention, because sometimes we have an impression. First of all, these are not three-dimensional, they're multidimensional, they're transcendental bodies, so it's very hard to have a picture of what's happening, the dimensions and so on, the different environments. Like here is saying, the sky represents the heart of the Lord, and the whole creation is in that heart. So it's hard to really, visualize in our experience. Okay, what does it mean, where everything is? I give an example, Mahavishnu. Sometime in our pictures, in our illustrations, you see this Mahavishnu just floating in some kind of ocean. But we need to understand that's just an image, it's not the real description. For instance, I read for you from the 89th chapter of the 10th canto. There is this story that this Brahmana in Dwaraka, his children were disappearing. And then Arjuna at one point say, no, I will defend these children. They will not disappear anymore. And then finally they find out that it was actually Mahavishnu to take these children. So Krishna and Arjuna go through the whole material cosmos and reach Mahavishnu. And there is a description which I find very interesting. Mahavishnu is not just floating there like that, like floating in the water. It's not like that. He also has Ananta Shesha, and he sits on Ananta Shesha like a king sits on a throne. Although this is not described in all paintings. So, let me read for you this description. So this is Krishna Arjuna. They arrive in front of Mahavishnu. There is a description of how his color was like a dense rain cloud. He wore a beautiful yellow garment, like golden. His face looked charming. His broad eyes were most attractive. Then there is something which is intriguing. He did not have 4 arms. He had 8 arms, long and handsome. So already you see, sometimes we just think of Mahavishnu with 4 arms, but here he has 8. Of course, he is God, so sometimes he can manifest 8, 6, 10, 10,000. But in the Bhagavatam, when Krishna Arjuna go, he has 8 arms. Anyway, so just to give an idea, he has the Kaustuba gem. There's a little calf inside the gem. There's Srivatsa. Srivatsa, it's a tuft of white hair on his chest. There's a garland of forest flowers. And he's surrounded by his personal attendants, like his bodyguards, Sunanda, Nanda, and all his army. And then is the personified form of Sudarshan Chakra, other weapons like Komodaki, his mace, his conch, and so on. And then all his potency are there, Pushti, Shri, Kirti, Aja, all his mystic powers. In the purport, Ridananda Maharaj explains that he quotes Srila Prabhupada, Lord, that is innumerable energy, and they were all standing there personified. So it's not just one Mahavishnu floating in water and floating in this Karana ocean. It is all like the whole almost unlimited population, all divine population, his army, his bodyguards, his personified energies, female, male. And the Bhagavatam also explain that the previous verse explain there is a huge palace. So it's not just floating like this. There is a huge palace, and this palace has thousands of ornamental pillars. Thousands of pillars. So thousands of pillars, even if there is a pillar every 2 meters, I don't know exactly the distance, 5 meters, 10 meters, but even if there is a pillar every 2 meters, thousands of them means this palace is kilometers. It's so vast, it's so broad, kilometers of palace. And plus, we can imagine, we can have an educated guess that everybody else has got their own quarters, right? It's not just one palace. It's like a city. But sometimes this in the painting doesn't come true. So when we meditate on this, we need to go to the text, and we need to sometimes acknowledge that the painting only gives an image. For instance, I show you a painting. If you're looking at the screen, this is a painting of Krishna and Arjuna meeting Mahavishnu. Can you see?
Yes.
So this is in the 10th canto. Okay.
Mhm.
This is in the 10th canto. You can see here, Mahavishnu is in the palace. There is ground underneath, not just water. Is sitting on Ananta Shesha, like a throne, living throne. Is surrounded by so many assistants and energies, and he has 8 arms here, not just 4. Okay, so this I wanted to mention because sometimes the paintings, of course, the artists do the best they can, and sometimes it's hard to put everything together. Like we have this picture of Krishna and Goloka, and then the Vishnus in the material world. So sometimes it's hard to put every detail. But with the Shastra, we can see, yeah, there are many more things. So it's when we unpack the situation, it gives us a different version. Okay, so I'm speaking since what, 20 minutes or so. Now, if I don't know if there's any question that you want to discuss at this point. Otherwise, I can go on a little bit more.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Prabhuji. It seems Thakur Murari Prabhu has his hand up. Thakur Murari Prabhu, you may unmute.
Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All your Srila
Hi.
Prabhupada. Nice to meet you online. We had some association when I visited Gita Nagari, and you were passing
Okay.
there. So, yes, it's nice to see your presentation. And as usual, we thank the presenters for, the nectar, because, it's the best in the world. So we could be other places, but we took the time to benefit. Also, it's interesting how, for example, most of us in the West will get exposed to the Bible, the Holy Bible, they say, and in the idea, for example, with creation, and it's what presented by the Vedas is so much different from what we are used to. In terms, so we are saying that the most forms, and you say God created, but then you have God has many forms, different pastimes, so it's so nice that we are exposed to this kind of that education.
Hare Krishna. Yeah,
Hare
it's a fact that if we come from a Christian background, I also come from a Christian background. I'm from Rome, Italy. So at the same time, let's remember that the Bible doesn't give a different description. It just gives I would say, a partial description. Like, for instance, I'm reading from the Bible here, Genesis 1.2. This is before the creations of the planets, okay? Now I'm reading from the Bible, okay? Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Hovering meaning was floating. And another version of the Bible say, the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So this is the Bible, but unfortunately Christians cannot really explain. So these are not the waters of the ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, because the earth was without form and void. Everything was dark. So this is before the creation as we know it. So what are these waters? The Bible doesn't say. The Bhagavatam says. It tells, okay, there was the Spirit of God that was floating, moved, or hovering on the waters. But what are those waters? The Bible doesn't tell. So it seems that there is a reminiscence, there is a remembrance, fragmental remembrance of the description of the Bhagavatam. So it's not different. The Bhagavatam says the same thing, that the Lord is floating on the water, on the, for instance, on the Ananta Shesha. This is Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, but it gives also the explanation. What's the form of the Lord? Obviously, the Spirit of the Lord here is localized. It's not just saying there is a Spirit everywhere. No, the Spirit of the Lord is hovering on the water. So you can see that there is a form. It's not below the water. It's not in the water. It's hovering on the water. So it's a form. There is a beginning and an end. The form is omnipotent, so it's not limited materially, but there is a form. Otherwise, it could not say is hovering on the waters, on the water. Okay, so you could see that the Bible says the same thing. There is the Lord, but doesn't say the form, doesn't know the form, and doesn't know about these waters. So it just brings it there. But it's not different. So we should invite our friends, our brothers, the Christians, to say, look, we are not saying forget about the Bible. The Bible is a good beginning. It's a great beginning. As you said, the Holy Bible is sacred text, but there's not much information. I don't know if you ask a priest, if you ask a professional pastor, what is the Spirit of God? And what is this water where he was moving on? What does it mean? So they don't know. So yeah, it's not really different. It's more like a very, very summarized or succinct, fragmented concept of the same thing. Okay, does it help?
Yeah, I think yes. He says yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Wiki. Anyone else with something to ask or to share? That's Wiki, if I may put the verse back on the screen,
Sure.
because the text itself says something that appears to be conflicting or contradictory.
Mm-hmm.
Because it says, Krishna lies down on his own heart, spread in the form of the sky, and thus placing whole creation in that space. Krishna expands himself into many loving entities, which are manifested as different species of life.
Uh-huh.
And I am wondering, how does Krishna expand himself into many loving entities when the loving entities are different from Krishna in the sense that the living entities are parts and parcels of Krishna, but they are not Krishna himself.
Okay.
And again, Krishna, it says here that because Krishna, is the master of all mystic powers and the proprietor of everything, thus he is distinct from the living entities. So Krishna expands himself into many loving entities, yet at the same time he is distinct from the living entities. If you may help.
Yeah. If you can go a little down, include also the word by word. Yeah. So, first of all, I want to point out here is not talking about Krishna Shyamasundar. It's not talking about Vrindavan Krishna. It's talking about the Purusha avatars. But that's a detail. Now, when he says he expands, we can take it in two different ways. The living entities, first of all, are eternal. So it's not that there was a day in which there were no living entities, we were not existing, and we pop out from God. No, we are Sanatana, no, Ajo Nitya Shashvato Yam Purano. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita very strongly, he says, no, the living entity is eternal, original. We exist, we are as old as God. That means we are eternal. But we can take it two different ways. Sometimes it is said that sometimes the terminology of time sequence, chronology is used even when there is no time involved. Like when we say, for instance, okay, Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda are liberated. Liberated doesn't mean that they were not liberated at one point. They're liberated, that's their status. So similarly, just like when you say there is the sun and there is the sunshine, they are simultaneously. When there is sun, there is a sunshine. It's not that there is sun and then after a million years, okay, now the sunshine. Sun and sunshine, sign and the energy of the sun and the photons, the particle of lights, exist simultaneously. But obviously you could say that the sunshine comes from the sun. So obviously that's a material example, but it may help you understand the sun is the origin of all the sunshine. And the sunshine is dependent on the sun. Obviously, if there was no sun, there would not be sunshine. So similarly, one way of understanding it is that we are an energy of Krishna and we are always existing. Tatastha Shakti, Jiva Shakti, Jiva Tattva. So Krishna exists eternally, Jiva Tattva exists eternally. But we exist as dependents. Just like sunshine, all these little particles of light, they depend on the sun. They're not existing independently. Srila Prabhupada often quotes that verse from the Upanishad, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bhaunam Yo Vidadati Kamam. It says, Nityo Nityanam. Nityo is singular, Nityanam is plural. So one eternal among all eternals. Chetanas Chetananam, one conscious, one aware entity, one aware individual among all the aware individuals. Eko, one among many, Bahunam, Bahunam. Yo, he who vidadati kamam, who satisfy the needs and the desires of everybody else. So here we see the verse very powerfully describes this. It says that it says these words, Yogeshwara Adhishwara is the master of all mystic power, is the proprietor of everything, and therefore Srila Prabhupada says he does not have to endeavor for his maintenance. In other words, everything is already in himself. Nivritta vritti. Vritti means occupation. Nivritta vritti. He doesn't have any effort. Vritti means many things: occupation, effort, vibration, many things. Vritti. So nivritta vritti. He doesn't have to endeavor for his own sustenance because he doesn't have anything external to him. Like we need to work for our food. Even if you have a lot of money, you still have to cook, or at least you have to take the food and put it in your mouth. At least that. Even the richest person in the world, of course, if he has a servant who puts it in the mouth, it's different. But generally, at least you got to get this food just to survive, right? We all eat, we all drink, we all eat. So we need to have this effort. We need to somehow obtain the means of our subsistence because they are outside of ourselves. But for Krishna, nothing is outside of himself. His existence does not depend on anybody else, on any other principle or characteristics or entity. So he is the source of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matha sarvam pravartate, Krishna says. So everything emanates from him. So he doesn't have to really work. In fact, you can see Vishnu is sitting there, basically just sleeping. Just by dreaming, the whole universe comes. And everything is taken care. In the Bhagavatam, later in this third canto, is described is Vajrayanti Mala, when he's laying down on Ananta Shesha, snakes, the belly of a snake is very, very soft, right? So it's the best mattress. Sometimes we have different type of mattresses, spring mattresses, or even water mattresses. Some people in America have water mattresses. But the best mattress is a divine snake. And then he has Lakshmi Devi, who serves his lotus feet. Everybody in the world wants some blessing from some goddess. But the goddess of fortune, the supreme goddess, is right there serving his lotus feet. And his garland, it is said, his garland sings the Vedic hymns. Because he's a person, and he sings the Vedic hymns. So we want to have some music. Now it's very easy. We have the phone, right? Everybody has a phone. Everybody can listen to music. But still, we have to charge it, right? Every day, sometimes, oh, the battery is over. Oh, there's no field. No, I don't get the connection here. We have these problems. But the Lord in his garland, first of all, is also fragrant. It's also beautiful, much more than a black phone. It's also beautiful. It's also fragrant. It's permanent. It doesn't have batteries. Doesn't need to have any. It constantly sings these Vedic hymns. So when we meditate in this form, we can understand the opulence of the Lord. This is the first part of the answer. Sorry if it's a little long. The other part of the answer, what does it mean that he expands these living entities? Meaning we are the phase of creation, all the living entities from the previous creation, whoever did not get liberated, means almost everybody. Whoever does not get liberated, it goes inside Mahavishnu. And then through Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, through Lord Brahma, they get all the different species of life according to their consciousness in the previous creation. So in that sense, also he expands the living entity in the different species because they are inside him from the previous dissolution, from the previous creation. And now it's time to reawaken them. Now they can get back into their bodies and they continue with their activities and they float around, they go around this universe.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji. It seems, Gol Prabhu, you have something to ask. Please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. My take on this is actually we should not be too literal. My understanding of this ocean is not a water ocean as we imagine. After all, we're into Krishna consciousness. So this ocean, as I understand it, as I've learned also, or some teachers, is an ocean of consciousness. And on Sahadev's point that, how it permeates every living, we are conscious beings, so automatically this ocean, that's how we are created as conscious beings from this ocean that Mahavishnu or Krishna are the source of. I think it's much easier to understand it from that point of view. I don't know, Prabhu, what do you feel about this sort of aspect of?
Well, I think
from a metaphysical angle, yeah.
Yeah, no, from a metaphysical, theological, philosophical angle, we should take literally the text of the Bhagavatam. At the same time, the challenge may be we don't know what the literal meaning is. So there is this tension. We need to take it literally, but sometimes we don't have a literal translation because what we find in the dictionary is not exactly what is described here. So you are right that this ocean is not just an ocean of water. Like we are familiar with the ocean, like Atlantic Ocean. I think we all took bath in the Atlantic Ocean. And okay, we have this salty ocean. We have some idea of the temperature, some idea of the composure, some idea of the taste. So it's a fact. You're right when you say we should not take the ocean just, oh, yeah, I took bath in the beach in Ghana or Nigeria, therefore there must be the same. No, but it's an ocean because it's liquid and it's much more expanded than, I mean, it's different. It's a different dimension. So you're right. It's not just the water. At the same time, it is an ocean. It's not just a symbol. So sometimes it is said, for instance, that there are three different oceans, as I explained at the beginning. Maybe you were not there. The Karana Ocean, the ocean of causes. So again, what does it mean? It's not just an ocean of salty water. Then the Garbhodaka Ocean, Garbhodaka Shaya Vishnu says it's his own perspiration that fills off the universe. So how to understand, right? That perspiration, generally perspiration is something dirty, something smelly, right? But here is the perspiration of the Lord. So it's like, again, it's divine. And then the milk ocean, how you keep, how you keep an ocean of milk? What kind of cow? Is this milk coming from cows? That there are so many cows, billions of cows that produce so much milk, and they made an ocean of it? Maybe, or maybe just something we call milk because it's this closest thing that we can imagine to milk. So I agree with you that we cannot take it according to our experience. At the same time, I want to stress our epistemology, our way of understanding the scripture is literal, but sometimes we don't know what the literal meaning is because it doesn't match with our dictionary experience. It's beyond our vocabulary. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the question, Gaul Prabhu, and His Grace Kaunteya Prabhu. Thank you for the response. I have had this question, and since you're here, I will use that as an opportunity to ask this question. We're talking about the Purusha avatars, and we understand that Sri Balaram, who is the first incarnation of Krishna, first expansion of Krishna, he expands himself into the Chaturviha, the quadruple. Now, from these four expansions, Shankarshan, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Vasudev, from Shankarshan, there is a secondary Chaturviha. Now, I want to know, all these expansions are within the material cosmos. What is the role? What do they actually do? What do especially the first Chaturvyuhas, what do they do other than Shankarshan expanding himself into secondary Chaturvyuhas? And from there on, we have Mahavishnu and then this Garbhok Shirodakashaya Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and 11 entities popping up. So what is the role? Because I'm thinking that if Krishna expands himself into a particular form, there is a reason, there is a purpose. But I haven't heard or come across where it is described what their purpose is?
Yeah, first of all, I'm not sure that the first Chaturvyuha is within this universe. That I'm not sure. I don't remember seeing any description. Now, the second Chaturvyuha certainly takes place in the universe. And in the third canto, the canto we are discussing later on, in a later chapter, is described that each of the Chaturvyuha takes charge or supervise a psychic aspect. So Vasudeva supervises consciousness. Sankarshan is the lord of ego. Then Pradyumna is the lord of intelligence, and Aniruddha is the lord of mind. So there are a couple of purports. If I had a minute, if I have a minute, I can bring them up. In the third canto, in this canto, in which this is described. So in other words, we see this, that as a principle, any material manifestations has got some form of the Lord in charge. Like for instance, when we talk about astrology, there are the Navagrahas, the 9, we could say, planets. They're not all planets as we understand planets, but the 9 influential stars, could say, astronomical bodies. And we know them like we have Mars, Jupiter, Sun, Moon, but above each of them, there is a particular form of the Lord. Now, my wife is an astrologer. She knows all of them. Now, I don't remember. But I know, like, for instance, over the Sun is Ramachandra. Over Mars, I believe, is Nishingadev. So we can see that even the material aspects have a form of the Lord who are in charge. And sometimes there are two different levels. There is like a planet, then there is a demigod, and then there is a form of the Lord. But to answer specifically your question, the Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Niruddha, takes care or supervise the psychic elements of the universe. And for instance, also in this third canto is described how sometimes Sankarshana is a worship through Shiva. Shiva and the snakes on the body of Shiva, they're actually expansions of Sankarshan. So they're divine snakes. And he is described in this canto later, where he is always meditating on Sankarshan. So you could see that there are different, we could say, lineage, quote unquote lineage. There is the element, there is the demigod, and then there is the form of the Lord. So similarly, for instance, for the mind there is, of course, our mind, then there is the planet, Chandra, the moon, and then there is Aniruddha. The intelligence, there is the intelligence, then there is the sun, and then there is Pradyumna. So, in other words, everything, even the most gross thing, we could say, okay, this is a planet, this is a astral body, and so on. There are demigods, and there are also forms of the Lord. And of course, they exist outside and they exist inside. Just like Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. He has his own planet, he has his own kingdom, his own ocean, but he's also in the heart. And in the heart, he's also surrounded by bees, and he has his personal attendants like Shankachakra, Radha Padma, right? Lotus, mace, disc, and conch, like that. So everything is in the macrocosm, is also in the microcosm. There is a reflection. There is a it's like a hologram. some of you are familiar with the idea of a hologram. Hologram is a picture, is a particular way of creating a picture in which even if you take a fragment of the picture, in the fragment there is the whole picture. So my understanding is the universe, the cosmos, is hologrammatic in nature. There is the aspect, macro aspect, cosmic aspect, all these dimensions, these distances, thousands of millions of kilometers. But then the whole thing is also represented in our body. Now, there are demigods affecting or supervising parts of our body itself. So that's my understanding of how it works.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Well, since we don't tend to get your association quite regularly, we have you here today. I just wanted to find out from you, will you be willing to accept questions that may not be directly related to today's theme?
I hope to be able to give some answer.
All right, thank you. So in that case, a few days ago, there was this question asked to a particular speaker on this forum. And I think it's sometime last week, and we did not receive like detailed response to the question. And the question is, the scriptures say that if one does not observe Ekadashi, he goes to hell.
Uh-huh.
So the question was, does that mean that all the different people on this earth planet who do not know anything about Ekadashi and therefore do not observe Ekadashi, are they all going to go to to hell, simply because they do not know and they do not follow it, so they're going to go to hell? Is that what it is?
According to my understanding, the answer is no. They don't have to go to hell. And I give an analogy. When you look at the state laws, it may say, okay, if you commit murder, you got, say, 20 to life, or in some cases also the death penalty. The law is written like that. But then there is other laws that neutralize that law for certain citizens. For instance, people who don't have the mental capacity, right? They lost completely the capacity of discrimination. So they will not kill them. Or children, for instance, in India, where I live, till the age of 8, nothing is considered a crime by definition. By legal definition, till the age of 8, one cannot commit a crime. It's not considered that the brain is developed enough. So if a little boy, 6-year-old, picks up a gun and shoots somebody, it's not murder, and it's not manslaughter, and it's not homicide. The law says that because it's a child. So although the law say no, but the murder should go to jail or should be killed, it doesn't apply to children. And even there is a gradation. It's not that when you're 8 you are an adult, right? There are still you get to teenager and so on and so forth. But certainly you're not an adult, and the laws doesn't apply as an adult. So my understanding is that certain rules are for those within the Vedic culture, those who have a developed culture that they should follow. They should follow because they're in that culture. They're supposed to be trained in the culture. They're supposed to have heard the rule. But somebody else who never heard, no, you have a very pious monk very pious monk in Ethiopia, praying all day. He doesn't know about Ekadasi, so he just eats a little bread and say, "Thank you, God, for this bread." And then he goes to hell. He's like, whoa, yeah, he finds himself in hell. Say, whoa, what's happened? No, it's not. It's not true. So, in other words, it's true, but not for everybody. That's my understanding.
Well,
Other people may tell you other things, but that's my understanding.
well, thank you so much for which. I think that is my understanding too, because otherwise, otherwise, I think everybody may have the right to say Krishna is mean or partial, or
Unfair,
something like that,
unfair,
or
yeah.
unfair, yeah, something like that, yeah. Um,
See,
that's
there is a principle, there is a legal principle, it's called proportionality.
okay.
The punishment should be proportional to the crime. So that's in every country of the world. Of course, it's influenced by politics, it's influenced by values and so on. But the concept is there in every legislation in the world, proportionality. So according to the seriousness of what you do, there is a punishment. If you steal an apple from a shop, in no country of the world you'll be murdered, you'll be killed, right? No country of the world will give you capital punishment.
Yeah.
Because you have not created so much damage. It's a crime, but you have not really hurt anybody. So yeah, the principle of proportionality, these are reflections of the justice of God. So I don't think that God puts into hell somebody who never heard about Ekadasi. Maybe he's even vegetarian and like that.
Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, okay, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. My respectful obeisances to you. Our glory to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, I have a similar question in the answer to Sade Prabhu's question. What do you also have to say about Krishna say Patram Puspam Phalam Toyam Yomi Bhaktya Prayachate? In the purport to that verse, Srila Prabhupada explains that one who eats without offering the food stuff first to Krishna the person eat only sin.
Mm-hmm.
So someone may not know that eating without offering to Krishna is a sin. And the whole world, majority of the living entities, more especially the human beings, don't offer their food to Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says they eat only sin. So what is your comment about that?
It's a very similar comment, just like in the normal human legislation, there is proportionality. There are crimes which carry the capital punishment, death sentence, and there are infractions, like if you park the car in the wrong place, you're driving, so don't park in the wrong place. So if you do parking, they give you a ticket. They won't put you in jail. They won't put you in jail. They can give you a ticket, maybe $10, maybe $100. I don't know. Depends on different considerations where you park, but they will not put you in jail, or they will not give you the capital punishment. So what does it mean? Sin. Sin is not something homogeneous. It's not just sin with the capital S. Sin. Yeah, it's a sin means it's something that somewhat brings you karma. And we can understand, because even if you say eat bread, vegetarian bread, you take bread, but you have to cut those grains, right? They were living, they sacrificed their body, their life, their duration of their life, and you nourish yourself with that. So there is some reaction, some weight But it's not like cutting the throat of a goat or a horse or a cow. That is obviously a very different level of sinfulness, or we could say a guilt or reaction or consequences. So, yeah, there is sin, we understand, because there is karma. Some things there is almost basically no sin, because like apples fall from the tree. Even if you don't pick them up, after some time they will fall. You don't have to kill anybody to eat an apple, right? It's just an apple or milk. Milk comes from the cow. You don't have to kill the cow. So there are certain foods which are naturally innocent, because they don't carry karma. There is no violence. But then there are other foods that carry more consequences. Of course, the worst is to eat the cow or a brahmana. So like that, because obviously you're creating a lot of pain. You're creating a lot of suffering. You're actually damaging society by killing a brahmana, by killing a cow, and so on. And then they suffer. I always remember once I was doing the book distribution in Italy, and I was in a little village, and at one point I kind of came out of the village, and there was a big like a go down, and it was a village slaughterhouse for pigs. And I remember seeing all these pigs already quartered, cut into half. And there was one pig there was still alive. And I could see that this pig was very scared, because you could see all the other pigs being quartered, being cut into half, and being put into these chains and things. So then I was there, and I was already a grown-up man, but I was shocked by seeing what happened. One person came with this pistol. It's a pistol that doesn't have bullets, but there's a big nail that comes out like this.
Krishna.
So they just nonchalantly, because he does that all day to hundreds of times. He just put it on the head of the pig, and boom, and the pig was dead. Then immediately after the pig was dead, somebody else jumped on the pig and cut the throat of the pig. And again, this was more than 40 years ago, but I still have almost traumatized by that. So obviously there, whoever eats the pig, there is a reaction. I mean, the pig was an innocent, quote unquote, innocent pig going around doing his pig life. And some people created a big pain, big agony, big anxiety, physical pain, like that. So obviously there is much more
Karma.
There's much more reaction. So yes, we understand that there is some consequences, there is some reaction, but sometimes it's minimal or almost null if the food is innocent. But more the food is violent, and more there is consequences. Is that clear? Does it help?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. There are more chains of question in regards to this very points, but I think your explanation will cover most of them. So thank you very much.
Well, we want to recognize the presence of Her Grace Mother Rajalila.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Mother Rajalila. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Kaunteya Prabhu, I
Hare
think I must have missed the time. I really wanted to hear your class. Did I miss it?
I don't
Tell
know,
him-
Did you change time?
it started 1 hour, 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Ooh, my bad. Lost. Okay, well, I'm glad I'm here at the end.
Hare
Hey, how are you?
Happy to be with you and all of you. Where are you?
I'm in Gidanagri.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was there in May.
I heard. I missed you. I missed you. That was our loss.
It was my loss.
I want to know how to get your books.
Which one?
All of them, but the last one.
Which one?
Let's see. I was reading recently some reviews. Actually, I heard you speaking about it on Namras's show. So I guess that's the one on the Brahmanas. Is that the one? The last one you did?
The last
Brahmana
one
pages
is
or
a book
something like
on abortion. The last one.
Oh, well, I think well, yeah. It's always nice to know about that from different perspectives, I
Look,
guess.
I'll send you a link. I'll put it in the
chat room.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really happy to see you. Where are you?
Mayapur.
Oh, good. I'm happy to hear that. I didn't think you were there. Sorry, devotees. Kaunteya and I go back years and years and years, and I really I appreciate his his enthusiasm to be an activist, a spiritual activist. Thank you very much.
So yeah, we go back a lot. Yeah, and many blessings I received from Brajalila. She was even our chaperone when my wife and I were getting to know each other. She was our supervisor, like the chatter viewer.
That was Krishna's mercy on me. He was giving me association of two precious gems to help me. Thank you so much.
So since you brought it up, I put it in the chat. This is a link.
Yeah.
There you can find 5 books. They are for downloadable for free. There is one book about women Diksha Guru. Did Srila Prabhupada wanted women Diksha Guru? Question mark. So the one book is about that. There are 2 books about Varnashram. One is Varnashram Illuminations, and one is it's called How to Mess Up Varnashram by Underestimating Women and Neglecting Gurukul. So it's about the role of women in Varnashram and about the role of education, traditional education. Then there is another book, as I said, on abortion, because I noticed that some devotees are even started becoming warm or condoning the idea of abortion. They're being influenced by so much propaganda. So I felt, let me put this book together with a lot of quotes by Srila Prabhupada and so on. And then there is a book on a little more technical about the neo-smartas. Some devotees will bring ideas which are not really in line with Lord Chaitanya. They're more in line with the caste system and all that. There is another book, which if you mention the book I presented on Namarasa, that's called Tough Questions, Difficult Answer on Srila Prabhupada Contentious Remarks. Because Srila Prabhupada said things like that people take it as racists or homophobic or sexist. So I wrote this book because I addressed that the context of those statements, how some certain things were edited, or the spirit of certain thing. So if you want that book, I'll give my email. It just I'd say anybody who wants that book, I'll send you again for free. I'm sending the email here if you want that book on the Srila Prabhupada controversial statements on homosexuality, racism, in particular Blacks, African and African Americans, and on gender, the role of women. So if you're interested, I'll send you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
So thank you for the publicity.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, and thank you so much, Mata Brajaliva.
If I may take a minute to just acknowledge
go ahead. Yes.
Prabhu, Atmatatva, thank you so much. I'm just happy to see you. I never saw him personally, and we do so much service together now. So Atmatatva, you're in South Africa. I'm very happy to see you, Prabhu. Thank you for the services you offer. Thank you so much. Actually, he's been serving the Vaishnavi Sangha, our Vaishnavi Sangha, for about 5 years. 5 years.
Ooh, I didn't know that long. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Atmatattva Prabhu is also a writer for ISKCON News.
Yes.
Right.
Is that you? Oh, so I read your articles. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I also saw your magazine, youth magazine. What's the name of your youth magazine?
You may unmute Atmatata Prabhu. Well, I think there is a problem with this audio.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, good.
Yes,
Hare
sorry
Krishna.
about that. I hadn't set up my microphone. I was just planning to listen to the class.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Yes, the youth magazine, it's called Quiddity, based on a
Yes.
Latin word quidditus. It's just basically a colorful way to attract young people on the streets. Features snippets of conversations, articles, and the like. And also, it's I was thinking of having it as a visibility campaign for Krishna conscious creatives and the like.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a chance to go through it. Very, very modern, very attractive.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mother Prajalila.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Very
Well, Shri Kantiya Prabhu, I have one other question. I have this question because yesterday was Gita Jayanti, and it was beautifully organized by none other than Mother Brajalila in Gita Nagri. And Mother Brajalila, I must say thank you so much because I really enjoyed and benefited so much from the readings. And I have this question because Arjun was talking to Krishna, and Krishna told Arjun that you're talking to me. It appears that you are very intelligent, you are a very smart guy talking to me. But here you are claiming, pretending or assuming to be very intelligent, but you are mourning for these bodies that they're going to be lost. And Krishna says, those who are wise do not lament for such beings. And we understand there was no one more wise than Maharaj Yudhishthira. Yet, after the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhishthira was so much in lamentation. He was in agony. He was in despair. Up to the point Lord Krishna would advise him and remind him that, do not worry, you are not the cause of these deaths. I am the cause. Krishna, I am the cause. Yet, Yudhishthira wouldn't stop crying. So my question is, we as human beings with human sentiments, is it wrong, or do we become fools when we lament for a loved one that we've lost? Per Krishna's statement in the Bhagavad Gita. And if we want to try to become wise, does that mean that we should never mourn for the dead? We should never feel sad at any point? Please, if you may help.
You want me to comment? You want me to speak?
Yes, I want you to speak.
Okay. Okay, there are various considerations on this. First of all, Krishna is talking to a Kshatriya, Arjuna. And in his case, Kshatriyas are killers, are warriors. They are trained to kill. It is said that they can go to the forest and kill some dangerous animals, so they protect the ashrams in the forest, but they also practice the art of killing, which is a very practical thing. It's not just a theoretical thing. You take the life of a living entity, especially a developed living entity like a human being. So not everybody can just kill. So in the case of Arjuna, the contrast was especially dramatic, especially inappropriate. I mean, Arjuna had already fought so many wars, so many battles with humans and superhuman beings.
Yeah.
So for him, the killing was not really a big deal. Let's put it like that. Okay. So it is explained that just like when Krishna does his Leela on these planets, it's like a drama. It's like a stage performance. And so when you do a drama, different people play different parts. They impersonate that particular feeling, that particular sentiment, that particular emotion. So Arjuna plays the part of the confused Kshatriya. Confused, but not just confused by tamas guna. He's confused by dharma. He's confused. He talks about, in Sanskrit, he talks about jati dharma, the family tradition, or kula dharma, another way of saying the family tradition. And then Krishna said at the end of Bhagavad Gita, sarva dharma parityaja. In other words, these are dharmas. These are dharmas, but there is higher dharma. So we need to keep these things in mind. First of all, he's talking to a Kshatriya who was very, very familiar with the killing business. So there is an incongruence, a major incongruence. He was not just talking with anybody. Second, there is this role, there is the Leela aspect. Now, the third thing is that Yudhishthira, he was lamenting not just because of the death, but because this death created a lot of pain. It created millions of widows, for instance, millions of orphans. So he felt responsible because technically the war has been fought to put him on the throne. See, Duryodhana, when you see, for instance, like a war like in Ukraine, now I don't want to get into the politics, geopolitics, but there is a country and there is another country that invades. So if you want to defend your country, your family, and so on, you got to fight. Now, Kurukshetra was not like that. Nobody invaded anything. It was just a question of principle that no, Yudhishthira is the legal, legitimate successor of Pandu, and Duryodhana is a usurper. But Duryodhana was not bombing villages or starving people or anything like that. Duryodhana was a very expert manager. He was demoniac in one sense because he did not accept Krishna, he did not recognize Krishna. He tried his best to do damage to his devotees, to devotees of Krishna. But Duryodhana was a very competent king. From what he had a lot of baggage, psychological baggage, all this envy, all this pain, all these insecurities, and so on and so forth. But as a king, he was very good. The kingdom was running perfectly. They did not need to have a coup d'etat, a golpe. They did not have to have a military takeover of the kingdom. So in the case of Yudhishthira, to some extent, his resentment or his repentance is justified because, yeah, this huge war with so much pain, again, so many widows, so many orphans, the whole generation was affected. It's not just for me. So, but then finally Krishna arranges that he doesn't, Yudhishthira could not even be pacified by Krishna himself. So Krishna arranges that Bhishma Deva gives instructions, and finally Yudhishthira is pacified. And for 36 years, he runs the empire. Okay? Now, your more general and perhaps more relevant to us, mourning. See, when we have a loss, it's natural and even healthy to have some mourning because a part of our life is taken out. Just like physically, if one finger gets cut, what to speak of an arm gets cut, a leg gets cut, naturally there is pain. Not only physical pain, but also psychological pain. I had one arm, I had two arms, now I only have one. Come on, I cannot just get up next day. Yeah, it's okay, one arm, I had two, whatever. Obviously there is some psychological agony there.
Yeah.
My life is affected in so many ways. So what the persons in our life, families, friends, spouse, they are part of ourselves. There's a very deep intertwining of the karma, we could say, of the soul, right? They're part of us. When a part of us, like our father, our mother, our brothers, when this part gets to know, obviously our psychic body is very affected. So it's not only natural, but it's healthy to have some sort of closure, some sort of crying. Even Krishna himself, when he was in Dwaraka and Shalva, this demon Shalva attacked, and this Shalva was a mystical demon. So at one point he made a form of Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, was a false form, but he cut the head of this Vasudeva. And Krishna, of course, Krishna is omnipotent, is in the heart of everyone. But in the play, in the divine Leela, the divine play, he also started crying. He stopped, oh, my father dead, like that. I even heard that during the Kurukshetra war, there was a particular technique that every night, this big shot, I don't have a reference, but I heard it, okay? We need to make more research. It needs more research. But at night, after so many of their friends, comrades, colleagues, relatives died, they had a cathartic session in which everybody was crying and crying and crying just to get it out of the system. So the next day they could fight again. So for 18 days, this went on. So when Krishna says the sage does not lament for the living of the dead, does not mean that we become impersonal automatons. Oh, my husband died. Yeah, it's okay. The soul is eternal. No, my father died. Yeah, it's okay. He was old anyway. My brother died. Yeah, it's okay. It's just a brother. It's just a bodily thing. No, that's not the meaning, and this is not what we see even the acharyas doing, obviously, right? So in every culture there are funerary rites, and some function is for the souls to help them in their journey, but it's also for those who remain to bring some closure. So you see, for instance, when they have a Christian funeral, the priest reads the Bible, right? Reads the Bible and say something to people understand, okay, we are eternal, whatever. So it gives some sort of succor, some sort of appeasement of the pain. But we are meant to feel pain. We are meant to feel emotionally curtailed, cut, damage. If we don't feel that, it's something very wrong. It's something very unhealthy. We are not humans. like that. Now, it does not mean that we become dysfunctional forever. We have a very close relative, very close friend that dies. Then, of course, for a few days, we may be very, very affected. But now in 10 years, we won't be affected anymore in the same way. We have the remembrance, we have all the beautiful times, we have the affection. But after a few days, we become functional. So the problem with Arjuna is that he became dysfunctional. You see, at one point, the first chapter, it just put down Gandiva. It just put down Gandiva. He made a vow. Whoever tells him to put down Gandiva, he will kill him. He made that vow. You know, Kshatriyas are particular individuals. There are certain values a little different. So he said, whoever tells me to put down Gandiva, I'll kill him. In fact, there is the story when Yudhishthira tell him to put down Gandiva, and then Arjuna feel, now I have to kill Yudhishthira because it's my word. You know the story? Well, at one point, somehow they're fighting because they were fighting also, there was brothers, they were disagreeing. So at one point, Yudhishthira tells, no, your Gandiva, put it away. Something like that. I don't remember exact words. And so Arjuna gets into this moral dilemma because he made a vow. He gave his word. And so he feels, now I have to kill Yudhishthira, which obviously is unthinkable. So then he asks Krishna. And Krishna says, well, I mean, you can interpret killing by insulting him. And so Arjuna tells all sorts of insults to Yudhishthira. He gets it out of his system. So, okay, now it's like you killed him in that sense. Like with Ashwatthama, right? Killing a Brahmana, you just cut his hair and so on. So there are this type of things, this type of rules and mechanics. So Arjuna became dysfunctional. And then Arjuna and Krishna said, no, you got to fight. So in that case was not proper. But then we see, in fact, the Bhagavatam, let me see if I can find it very quickly. In the Bhagavatam, after Kurukshetra, I believe it could be first canto, 9th chapter. Let me see if I quickly find it.
Well, devotees, please remember to copy the link shared in the chat room before we close for the day, so you may have access to the books that Prabhuji was talking about. Otherwise, we may share it in the WhatsApp platform later on.
You were talking to me, Prabhu?
No, I'm talking to the rest of the devotees.
Yeah. Anyway, it is said in the 9th chapter that after Bhishma Deva left, also everybody together, they did the funerals, and obviously it was a moment of great pain for everybody. They understood the philosophy and everything. I mean, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken a few days before, but obviously Bhishma was a very important protector, a very important figure in their life, was grandfather Bhishma. So obviously he leaves the body, there is a emptiness, there is a void that everybody feels. So again, it's not just mourning the body, oh, the body died. We know the body will die, but it's the association, is the link, is the presence that certainly creates a vacuum. And so a sense of pain, a sense of suffering is healthy and it's natural. So Krishna is not saying don't feel bad when Bhishma leaves the body. That's not the meaning.
Yeah. Wow. I'm so happy I asked this question to you. And this is a very wonderful surgical.
Oh, I'm sure many other devotees could give even deeper. I mean, Vrajalila did so, Mataji, Prabhu did so much study on emotional dimension and the needs for emotional care of the body. So I'm sure she could say a lot of things. There is this, I give you an example. The other day I was talking with Ramboru, Mother Ramboru, some of you know.
Yeah.
So she's the founder of Karuna Care.
Karuna, yeah, Karuna Care.
I think Rajalila Prabhu is also part of it. You're on
She
the board
is.
of directors,
Yeah.
right? So let me do some publicity also for Karuna Care. So they care for devotees, especially the emotional aspect, not the physical medical aspects. And we had a few days ago we had a call because she's in connection with my wife and different things, different projects. Now, she was telling me sometimes some devotees, especially in Russia, they have these major losses, like mothers lose their children and things like that. And definitely, and some very mature devotees, they quote the verse, hey, the sage doesn't lament for the dead of the living. And these mothers, they're very confused. They're very confused. They feel guilty. Either they feel these people are really non-intelligent, and so they feel a lack of faith in the movement, in the association. Or they feel guilty. Oh, am I strange? I'm not a real devotee because my son died. I feel bad.
Yeah.
Obviously, these are things that all life they'll bring you some level of pain, obviously. It's nature. Now, it's just part of the human psyche. So, and she was saying how some devotees are really a lot of need to go to overcome this trauma, to overcome this sense of pain. So, yeah, very important service the Karuna Care is doing.
Well, Mother Raj, please you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Kunteya Prabhu. You brought up such an amazing, wonderful topic about mourning. And I'm guessing after I heard you on Namras, I had this question, and perhaps this is a question for me to ask you personally. However, because you brought up this theme, I thought I would just follow up on it a little bit. So sometimes when we think of loss in terms of death of the physical body. However, there are so many different ways that we experience losses. So, for example, yourself, you recently experienced a loss of being accepted and acknowledged by our institution. And you mentioned the word in terms of mourning, association is important, linking is important. So I was just a little bit curious, given that, devotees are experiencing losses all the time. How are you mourning? Mourning means sharing what's going on. So if you would share a little bit.
Yeah, no, you are talking because of this quote unquote ban that I received. You're talking about that?
Yeah, yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I learned that you've been banned from ISKCON, and
no,
that's a lot.
No.
That's
No,
it's
no,
not.
no.
Okay, let me clarify. Without getting into too many details, because it may not be interesting or relevant for most devotees. So what happened is that, as you said before, I'm an activist. So sometimes I take positions on certain issues. Like Women Diksha Guru, I'm 100% supporting the principle that women can also teach and initiate disciples. So there are certain individuals, certain, let's say, groups in India that since more than 10 years, they see me as a competitor, okay? They see me as a rival. They see me as the enemy of their idea of varnashram and so on. Then I wrote these books, which they became even more inimical after writing these books. So they tried to ban me institutionally. They went first to the ISKCON India, and ISKCON India, they said, first of all, he has the right to defend himself. Second is, what exactly are you accusing him of doing? And they couldn't really articulate, what is my great sin? Talking about sin, What did I do? What did I say? What did I write? And they could not really articulate an indictment. So then they went to the GBC and they say we need to ban this Kaunteya Das from ISKCON, and the GBC didn't give attention or like that. So then finally, when I started doing a specific campaign against these neo-smartas ideas, and when I wrote this book, which I mentioned on the controversial aspect, they took the opportunity and they say, oh, you are an offender, you are a blasphemer of Srila Prabhupada, so we ban you. We ban you from ISKCON India. We ban you from giving classes and presentation in the ISKCON centers in India. Now, personally, in terms of mourning, I never mourned. I never had any mourning because those who banned me, they never had the authority to ban me. It's a group, it's called ICC, Indian Continental Committee, which doesn't have any administrative, executive, or judicial power. It's just something. They come together, they discuss, they never gave me any chance to reply to their accusations, to their allegations. So it's completely out of due process, out of fair process, completely outside civilized behavior. And they get together and they voted, they say, no, I'm banned from India. But I never felt banned in that sense. Unfortunately, of course, public opinion, rumors, people thought that I was banned, but I was never actually banned. And in fact, I participated in different things also in India, because some people didn't take the ban seriously. In other words, I also posted on Facebook, I explained, the ban was null and void. And in fact, I can tell you, I mean, that I'm welcome in many places, like Hare Krishna Africa. And in North America, I was teaching at the GBC College in May.
Yeah.
Later on in May, they invited me to this European Communications Convention. And they asked me to give 2 presentations there. So there are people who certainly hate me or hate my ideas. They hate what I represent in terms of values, in terms of message. And there are some people who somewhat inconceivably, they like me.
Yeah.
So I was never into mourning. You can ask my wife, the days in which they were banning me, they were probably some of the best days of my life, because I have that side of me. I get energized with opposition.
Jai. Hare
Raman
Krishna.
Kshatriya. Raman Kshatriya. Thank you.
Well, I
Thank
don't
you
know
for the
if that's
clarification.
Yeah,
Thank you for
so
the clarification.
no, I tell you the truth. Greater sadness is for the cultural state of certain area in ISKCON, that they really don't understand the principles of due process, right? Judicial process. They don't understand that you accuse somebody of something, whatever you want to accuse of. It could be child abuse, it could be theological deviation, it could be they stole money, whatever. You want to accuse somebody, you need to give them a chance to defend. Even totalitarian societies like Soviet Union or Turkmenistan, they do this what they call kangaroo courts.
Yeah.
They're just a farce.
Kangaroo courts, yes.
Yeah, they're just a farce. They already decided, but at least they make the appearance that there is a court case. They give you a lawyer, there's a judge, there's a panel. And what is really sad, that unfortunately some devotees, not all, some devotees don't understand these principles of due process, principle of justice.
Yeah.
But in this case, the whole thing was really ridiculous, because the group that thought they were banning me, they have no power to ban anybody. So no mourning in that case.
Jai, 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 jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Well, Prabhuji, we know. Okay, Govindra Prabhu, you have something to say?
Yes, yes, yes. Before Prabhuji will
Now,
leave us.
just one thing.
Okay.
I'm guilty of many other sins, of many other omissions and wrong choices. I'm not saying I am innocent
No,
in
no,
the absolute
Prabhuji.
sense, but on those things,
Yeah.
so I repent all my sins, mistakes, offenses, but that ban was not part of that.
We understand. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Yeah, Govindra Prabhu, please.
Oh yes, Prabhu. I know we've taken much of your time, but if you can kindly allow me
Pleasure.
to ask this question. Um, you know, Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita, was actually spoken 5,000 years ago by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. And Gita was spoken under a certain circumstance that pushed Arjuna to question Krishna in many, many ways. And as a result of that, we have Bhagavad Gita as it is 5,000 years ago. And now this same Bhagavad Gita was also spoken to the sun god millions of years ago. So what was the circumstance that gave or prevailed for that Bhagavad Gita was spoken to the sun god?
Yeah.
And who were
Okay.
the characters? Is it the same people, the same characters 5,000 years ago, or how did that one came about?
Okay. Thank you. See, what Krishna says at the beginning of the 4th chapter is that Imam Vivashvate Yogam Proktavam Aham Avyayam. And Srila Prabhupada translate that Krishna speaking, I instructed the imperishable, perennial, eternal signs of yoga to the sun god. So when we say that he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, it does not mean he spoke the same 18 chapters, the same 700 verses, no Dhritarashtra Vacha, Sanjaya Vacha. It doesn't mean that. Drishtaketu Chekitana. Is that not that to the sun god he gave the whole list of the armies? That there is Duryodhan here and there is Bhishma there. Krishna says, I gave these signs of yoga. So in what form, how many chapters, in what situation, in what forum, in what style, that the Bhagavad Gita doesn't give the detail. The principle that we need to extract is that Krishna, in some form, spoke with the sun god, the imperishable, perennial signs of yoga. And now he's talking to Arjuna. It's very clear from the beginning of the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Then he also says, but because this was lost, somehow it became either watered down or people did not, that the succession got interrupted. Therefore, I'm talking again to you because you're a devotee, so you can understand it like that. So this is the basic answer, is the science of yoga. So sometime, like in the case of Arjuna 5,000 years ago, there is this whole frame of the battle, and there is the whole historical circumstances of this world war. It was actually a world war, Kurukshetra. All the forces of the kingdoms united to fight. So the whole universe was actually looking at this battlefield. And so was the was a extraordinary opportunity to say something of philosophical value, the science of yoga again, so that it remained so prominent in the Indian tradition, in the Indian culture, in the Indian history. For instance, there are other circumstances, and the pretext was Arjuna's confusion. That's why we reconnect to the idea of the stage performance. If Arjuna had not been confused, there would not have been Bhagavad Gita. First chapter, there won't be Bhagavad Gita, right? Because, okay, they fight, they win, they lose, whatever, and there's no Bhagavad Gita. There's no need of a Bhagavad Gita. But to the Leela, in the economy of the Leela, Arjuna's confusion was essential for the presentation of the Bhagavad Gita. Just like later, in the case of Parikshit Maharaj, it is apparent confusion when he did a little offense. He put this dead snake on Samika Rishi, right? That was essential for the Bhagavatam to be spoken. Otherwise, okay, Maharaj Parikshit would just continue ruling the kingdom, then he will die, natural death, and no Bhagavatam. So these situations are pretexts for the presentation of the philosophy. But sometimes there is no need of a pretext. For instance, the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, especially the Uddhava Gita, many chapters in which Krishna explains the same things, but more expanded in more detail to Uddhava. There was no war. There was no confusion by Uddhava. There was no crisis. It's not really a psychotherapy session as we could say, is the Bhagavad Gita. So philosophy, we can see many times in the Bhagavatam. Sometimes philosophy is spoken in moment of crisis, and sometimes it's spoken in moment of peace. Like when you see Lord Shiva, he sits on that banyan tree, and there are sages listening, discussing. There is no war, there is no conflict, there is no crisis. It's just what the sages do. They churn the absolute truth for their own good and for everybody's good. But sometimes the philosophy comes up because of a crisis, like when Vasudeva had to defend Devaki. Kamsa wanted to chop her head off, and Vasudeva spoke some philosophy. Say, look, Kamsa, today or in 100 years, everybody will die. So why are you so, you are freaking out so much? That is natural. So he speaks philosophy in a moment of crisis, but sometimes philosophy is also spoken in a moment of peace, of tranquility, as a regular function. Just like, to give an example, Hare Krishna Africa. We are talking philosophy, not because there is a particular crisis today. I mean, you don't have a Putin or an Assad or a Netanyahu nearby, right? Nobody, you don't have an invasion of Nigeria or an invasion of Ghana, right?
Yeah.
Of course, there are also problems in Africa. The Sudan, the civil war.
Yeah.
Problems are everywhere. But we are not talking this philosophy because your country has been invaded, and I'm telling you, don't worry, matras pashas to KAUNTEYA, in pain and pleasure come and go. We are doing it, you're doing it as a regular function. Because Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, sages, rishis, intelligent people, even normal people, but devotee, they sit down and they discuss philosophy.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Prabhu. Very, very much clear. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, dear devotees, I would like to share some few things about our revered speaker with you today. Of course, as you all may know, Prabhu's name is Kaunteya Prabhu. His legal name is Dr. Carlo Opesini. I hope I got your last name correct. So Prabhuji has a PhD in Indo-Vedic psychology He also has a Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhava degree. He is a disciple of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. Prabhuji joined ISKCON in Rome, Italy in 1980, some 44 years ago. And Prabhuji has been living in India for about 37 years. He is now based in Jagannath Puri, but as we heard from him, he is speaking to us from Mayapur. But he is been in Jagannath Puri for quite some time now. Prabhuji has served, among other things, and even before I continue this, I must say that I was so lucky. Prabhuji visited Ghana so many years ago, during those days when he was very much instrumental in spreading Namahata programs all over the world. So he came, and that is when we bonded. And I've been a little brother to him for all these years. Prabhuji is a co-minister, is Congregational Development Ministry, like I was saying, co-chairman, GBC Organizational Development Committee, trustee, GBC College for Leadership Development, and then a member of the GBC Strategic Planning Team. He's also a member of the GBC Nominations Committee, GBC representative.
I was. These are
You were. Okay,
Yeah.
you were. Okay. GBC representative for Iran, special duty officer for ISKCON Brazil, member of the Latin Regional Governing Body, book distributor, Gurukul teacher. At present, Prabhuji serves as a writer, researcher, curriculum developer. We will need your service here, the curriculum development. We will need your service. We will talk about that later on. Faculty member, GBC College for Leadership Development, coordinator, ISKCON Constitution Project, and we also have some links that I can share with you later on to some important websites for more information, and I also have access to some of his books. Prabhuji has authored the following books: Bhakti Vriksha Manual. I'm sure that some of you, if not all of you, have that book, Bhakti Vriksha Manual. Very, very useful book that especially temples, every temple should have to help guide how to cultivate and make devotees. The book of icebreakers, Super Sunday, tough questions, difficult answers on Srila Prabhupada's contentious remarks. This is like one of the major blows that people throw at Prabhuji. Did Srila Prabhupada want women Diksha gurus? Varnashram eliminations, how to mess up Varnashram by underestimating women and neglecting Gurukul. New Smartas, which is my very favorite topic. ISKCON's greatest danger. Abortion? No, thanks. So I have a link here that sends us to some of the books I've mentioned, and the other 5 are also downloadable and they are free. So this is our fortune for today, the 12th day of the 12th month of 2024. It's a very special day. Today is Thursday, and per Vedic astrology is the day of Brihaspati, right? So there is natural coincidence that we get this depth of knowledge today. So thank you.
You did not say the most important qualification I have.
Well, I think
You forgot to mention that I am the husband of Sri Radha Govinda Dasi.
yes. In fact,
whom I understand is very popular in this program.
Well, I'm sorry to say that she's more popular than you.
Of course.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying that's my greatest qualification.
Yeah. So, yes, your greatest qualification is that you're lucky to be the spouse of Her Grace Radha Govinda Devi. And we all love her
May I
so
share
much
one other,
because
may I
she
share one other
bears the name of
Sahab,
our deity. Yes, go ahead, mother.
may I share another qualification of Kuntea that was not mentioned?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Kuntea was very instrumental. He was very instrumental in vetting for the gurus in West Africa. That's something that he really put a lot of energy into. So the mercy of the gurus that are there in West Africa comes from the mercy he received from His Holiness Japataka Maharaj and for him being an activist for that. I was personally there witnessing him in action. Thank you, Kuntea Prabhu.
Well, thank you so much. I must also say that he is also very, very instrumental for my presence here in the US because he helped me a lot because when I was in Ghana and I was trying to move to US, he said, "Hey, Sahadev, you cannot do that without your guru's blessing." So he started communicating with Gurudev on my behalf. I will never forget that. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for accepting me as a little wretched brother. Well, dear devotees, so this is our good fortune for today. And we thank you all for your rapt attention and love to drink in Krishna Katha through your ears into your hearts. So with that being said, except His Grace, Kantiya Prabhu, if you may have some sort of concluding statement or words you want to state before we bring this to a final close.
Well, I mean, all glories to your service, Sahadev Prabhu. You're sitting there in Harrisburg, right? You're in Harrisburg right now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
The Harrisburg, the capital of Pennsylvania, a very important state of America, one of the first 13. So you're sitting there, and but you have not forgotten the continent of your birth, and you are being instrumental in creating this sangha, regularly giving this association, facilitating, sharing, facilitating guests. So I much appreciate you, and I appreciate all the devotees that they took time from their busy schedule to sit and discuss the Bhagavatam, not just today, but as a regular function. So I really very much appreciate your association. I appreciate very much the fact that there are questions, so that there are stimulating, there is growth, there is analysis, there is exploration. I'm very happy that somehow you invited me. So
Well,
I'm going now. I'm going with your permission.
Prabhuji, yes. Please hold on a second, please. I know you love me so much. You wouldn't want me to go to hell. And there is one thing, if I do not.
You broke Ekadasi yesterday?
No, there is one thing, if I do not do it, I will go to hell. And that is to get His Grace Srimad Varahacharya to say something before we end the class today. Srimad Prabhu, please you may unmute. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Jai, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Kaunteya Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. It's a great pleasure to have you on this forum. Actually, before you appear today, we've been having your vibes through Mother Radha Govinda, and very nice, empowered preacher also like you. So, Prabhu, we're very much blessed to have your association once again on this forum. We look forward to seeing you from time to time and to benefit from your wealth of knowledge and experience. Thank you very much for coming. Hare Krishna.
Hare
And thank you, Sahadev Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So, dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute and we all chant, whether it is melodious or not melodious, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, to express our appreciation to our guest speaker, His Grace Kaunteya Prabhu. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Hare Ram,
Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Ancha Kaunteya Kripa
Kripa
Sindhuveka
Sindhu,
Patitana
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha.
Anta Koti Vaishnaviki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
This come from the Acharya Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Jagat Guru Savior of the whole world Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
So with your
Thank you all.
permission, I'm going. Huh? Here is already 10:40 p.m. So with your
Yes, it's
permission, I'm
late.
going.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Salika, you are the host.
Yep. Oh my God. What's up?